today on the Capital Show, Carrie Sheffield. She's a conservative commentator. Carrie, how are you today?
Maria, I'm great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm fine. Lots of things going on in Washington, D.C. But first of all, let's tell our audience about your book, your memoir, Motorhome Prophecies. It's like tell us in brief, what is it about? Why did you make this book? What is the purpose, the main idea?
Yeah, thank you. Well, here's a copy if folks want to check it out. It's called Motorhome Prophecies, A Journey of Healing and Forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote the book because I wanted to share a story of hope and recovery from challenges
Mm-hmm.
because we have so much darkness in our world right now. And so I shared how I overcame a lot of abuse and poverty and difficulty and mental illness. And my publisher calls it a cross between hillbilly elegy and educated. Hillbilly elegy is J.D. Vance's book. We have some similarities. And four of my siblings have attempted suicide, and I was suicidal. And we lived in a motorhome, so that's why it's called Motorhome Prophecies. And we lived in sheds and tents. We lived in a third world existence in America. So it was a lot of instability and abuse. But I want people to know that's not the end of the story, that through God, through faith, through prayer, through healing, I was able to recover and live a life that I love.
Sure. Look, I want to ask, what are yani, how this experience shaped your passion for reforming uh, big government and demanding transparency in the U.S. So, it is related. How this experience shaped your opinion, your bold opinion?
Yeah, well, it shaped my opinion of how America is so unique in that we were founded in God we trust. And unlike other regimes, Marxist regimes like the Soviet regime, the CCP in China, these regimes force atheism because they want to block people from believing in God. And the Russian writer Dostoevsky said, if God does not exist, all things are permitted. And so we've seen the worst abuse of human rights in the regimes that do not allow belief in God. And I spent 12 years hating God, or not believing in God, because my father had abused me in God's name. It's called Motorhome Prophecies because my father had claimed to be a Mormon prophet. And so for many years, he abused me in God's name. He put a curse on me in the name of Christ. And so I hated God. I hated Christ for a long time. And so I wanted America to be less believing in God. I thought God was something that we made up. And eventually, the book goes through the process. I eventually came to understand that that was a place of anger and bitterness, and wasn't true. And that there is a God who loves me, who loves his children, who wants us to love each other, and that he wants to be the highest authority in the land. It's God first, then government and other things.
Yeah.
And so that's part of why I'm so passionate about making sure that our country returns to love God, because we will not thrive as a country if we don't return to
Yeah.
loving God.
This is the secret of unity in this community. In God we trust. Thank you for sharing this experience, Carrie. Our main topic is big, beautiful bill act. So President Trump, he said he's calling to drain the swamp. So how do you see this bill? Yeah, there is lobbyists that they don't want this bill to happen, but it passed, and there is some difficulties to activate it, and especially that Elon Musk is against it. So, can you tell us your view on this issue?
I think the big, beautiful bill is obviously nothing's perfect in this world, but I think it's a step in the right direction. And I work with the country's largest conservative women's group, the Independent Women's Forum, Independent Women's Voice as well. And we have endorsed the bill because we see that it will create prosperity, it will unleash a lot of economic growth. And that's what I think that Elon Musk seems to be missing. I don't know who's giving him his economic projections, but if
Mm,
you look at the same very similar bill in some respects passed in 2017 with tax reform, and it created enormous growth. It reformed taxes both for the individual families and also for businesses, especially small businesses. And with that, we saw record growth. We saw record household wealth for women, African Americans, Asian Americans, all of the groups that the Democrats say they care for, the Republicans' bill is the one that did the most for these groups.
Mm.
So we fully expect that because the provisions in the 2017 bill need to be renewed, once they get renewed in the big beautiful bill, it's going to do the same thing. And so the projections that I think Elon might be looking at, they
Yeah.
don't incorporate the actual growth. It's called it sounds like an awkward phrase, but it's called dynamic scoring versus static scoring when you're looking at the economic calculations. And the Congressional Budget Office, the White House sent around an email noting it has a long history of putting out very bad projections that
Yeah.
are not. And so I think that if we look at reality, that lowering taxes, protecting our border, I mean, these are the provisions that and reforming healthcare, getting
Mhm.
illegal immigrants off of Medicaid. These are all really good things. And so we should be supporting it.
There is very important point in it. They are debating the debt, the national debt. America is over 34 trillion in debt now. But Elon Musk and others said that we will have more than this in 10 years. So is this bill can help curb reckless spending and force a real debate on fiscal discipline or what?
I mean, the bill has a lot of cuts. It has, again, removing people who, right now, there are millions of people who are on Medicaid, the government program for healthcare for lower income people. But these individuals do not want to work. They are refusing to work. They're refusing to look for work. And when you look at what the American people want, they do not want that to happen. They say, if you are going to get the benefit from the taxpayers, you need to be working. And so this bill would remove people from receiving taxpayer benefits if they are refusing to work. And here's the thing, once they do decide, I do want to work, then they'll be contributing to the economic growth. And so we'll have even more growth. So here's the thing about the debt. The bill does a combination of reducing spending, but
Yeah.
it also will encourage more growth. And when you have more growth, that means you get more revenue for the Treasury to pay down the debt. And
Mhm.
so that combination of two very important factors is what makes this bill going in the right direction.
You've argued this bill that it's empower citizens, not lobbyists. So my question is, how does uh, this bill make members of Congress more accountable to voters than to PACs and lobbyists and donors?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good question. I think when you look at the actual reforms, for example, one thing that I'm really passionate about and I'm going to write an op-ed about is about the health savings accounts.
Mm,
So it's sometimes called HSAs.
mm,
HSAs are so powerful because they give power to individuals, to people to control their healthcare spending. And it takes the power away from the corporate pharma, the corporate insurance companies, and it gives the power back to the people. And this bill will expand it because right now, I think around only about 10% of plans are eligible for HSA accounts.
yeah.
And so I think that's wonderful because and it will also help lower the price of healthcare because we're going to have more transparency and competition in healthcare. So that's one example where it is power to the people. There's also in because there are three main elements to this bill. There's the tax reform, there's the border security, and then there's the energy provisions. On the energy front, I mean, we saw under Joe Biden, part of why we had such terrible inflation under Joe Biden was because he put on a ton of new energy regulations. And
Mm,
so this bill would help unleash American energy, and that's going to be really good for people. Every time we go to fill up, the gas tank, this is going to help them thanks to this bill and the provisions that will roll back the things that Biden did and encourage and do new things, good things for the energy economy,
so
and it will protect our border. So.
yeah. So do you see and do you agree that the Big Beautiful Bill Act can is a part of America First legislative revolution? And can President Trump in his second term succeed in it and it will lead to a change, a real change?
Yes, I do. I do think this is America first because, as I mentioned, for example, the border, we have allowed millions or tens of millions of illegal immigrants to come into our country. You don't have a country if you don't have borders. And so, I mean, that's putting America first at the most basic level.
Mhm.
And then when we're talking about tax reform, America should be competitive. And unfortunately, our tax rate, our business tax rates, and individual rates, um, they haven't been as competitive as they should be. In the 2017 version of this bill, they helped make America first, America more competitive. And
Yeah.
so it's going to continue that.
We witnessed the incident in Colorado, and I think this is related to the decision for President Trump to ban 12 countries from coming to the US. And he said that we don't want to transform America to Europe, like what's happening in Europe will happen here. So, how do you see this decision?
Yeah, I think again, Trump wants to make America first. And it's not about targeting any specific people, it's about targeting an ideology. And so if there are certain regimes that create ideologies to live within certain people's minds, we have to protect ourselves. And that is part of what is putting America first, is making sure that we know who's coming into our country, that we control. Because here's the thing, when
Yeah.
you look at other countries, nobody would ever say it's wrong for a country to control who is entering their country. Nobody. And so it's just strange that in America, somehow the leftist media has taken over the idea that that the government should not be allowed to control who's in the country.
Yeah. You mentioned on your account on Twitter that as a Harvard grad student, I saw conservatives marginalized. Trump wants Harvard to embrace free speech and protect against violent anti-Semitism, creating a campus crisis. Um, you support what Trump did with, and he cut the funding for Harvard, but can you give us more detail here?
Yeah, yeah. If people want to go to my X account, they can read an article. I wrote an article that has the link there so they can see the full article. But I wrote it for Daily Signal. But the article talks about, the fact that President Trump, he wants to reform Harvard. He doesn't want to punish them because Harvard, if you're going to get a ton of money from the taxpayer, then the taxpayer needs to be served. And instead, Harvard has become a place where only a small subset of taxpayers and Americans in our democracy are being served. And that's not fair. And so what's interesting is there are some colleges in America, they don't take any federal money. And that means they don't have federal control over them the way that Harvard is. When you sign up to get the money, you got to play by their rules. And so I applaud what Harvard is, or what Trump is doing to reform Harvard, because, like you said in the post, I experienced this when I was a student. I felt that as a conservative in some of my classes, I couldn't say what I actually thought because I was worried they were going to hurt my grade or they would mock me or insult my ideas and not be respectful. And it's not that they would have to agree with me. It's just that I didn't feel safe in expressing my ideas in a way that would have a healthy dialogue.
And it has been going since a long time ago. So this movement, like woke movement, leftist, Nazis, I mean, like, do you still feel during the second term of Trump, we have this feeling, we have this hate in America, racism, anti-Semitism? Is it at which point, when are we gonna end this? How? And this is hurting our society.
Yeah, I did another article for Daily Signal about how liberals, and especially the far left, people who are more left are 41% more likely to say it's okay to murder somebody if you disagree with their politics. And they're much more likely to say it's okay to murder Donald Trump, it's okay to murder Elon Musk. And that is very disturbing, because political violence is not something that is part of our DNA as Americans, at least the way that it should be run. We should be, our national motto in Latin is E pluribus unum, which means out of many one. And so I love that Trump is going to be having, for the festivities next year, we're celebrating 250 years as a country. And I think it's great that he's going to be bringing people together and bringing pride in our military. What's really interesting, Maria, is that our military recruitment, they've already passed their goal, their recruiting goals, which is so great. It means that young men are feeling proud of our country, and there are some women too. But overall, it's that there is pride in defending our country again, and I think that that's amazing, and that's from President Trump.
Yeah, we will celebrate 4th of July. It's my 6th year in this country, so every year it's becoming better, and we feel safe. We feel safe now when we have a strong leadership. Thank you, Carrie Sheffield, for coming on my show, and my audience absolutely will enjoy your speaking and your opinions. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Maria. Take care.